No man ever steps in the same river twice, because when he steps in again, he's no longer the same, and neither is the river. Funny how certain things just hit you like that. No warning, no knocking at the door. The other day, I was walking. No reason, no rush, just walking. And out of nowhere, something so simple crossed my mind that it almost feels weird to even say it out loud. I looked at a street I cross pretty much every single day. Same sidewalk, same trees, same buildings. But for some reason, it felt like I was seeing all of it for the very first time. The texture of the wall, the sound of my footsteps, even the smell, something I'd never noticed before. And then this strange feeling hit me, kind of uncomfortable. How is that possible? How many times have I walked down this street without actually being here? And suddenly, it wasn't about the street anymore, or even about that moment. It was about everything. About how many days I've lived without really living. How many conversations I've had without actually being present. How many times I woke up, worked, ate, slept, and did it all over again without even realizing I was just going through the motions. Like someone walking down a hallway, staring at the floor. And the weirdest part is that this realization doesn't come like a slap in the face. It's not a shock. It shows up like a quiet question, one you don't even know exactly where it came from, but somehow it's already there, inside you. How long have I been here without really being here? And in that exact moment, something shifts. You notice it. You don't quite know what or why, but you notice. And, of course, you try to ignore it. Pretend you didn't notice. Because realizing this, it's uncomfortable. It's like an invisible crack starts to form, right in the middle of your awareness. And once you see it, there's no unseeing it. Maybe that's exactly how it starts. I think that maybe the greatest trick time ever pulled is making it seem like it's just there, available, waiting. Because if you really think about it, nobody wakes up one random day and says, "All right, today I realized my life passed me by." Number. It never happens like that. Time doesn't warn you. It doesn't yell. It doesn't send a sign. It just goes. And while it goes, you keep filling space. A packed schedule. Notifications lighting up. Things to get done. Things that, deep down, you're not even sure are really yours. Or if they just ended up in your hands, like someone mindlessly collecting tasks, and everything feels normal. Until one day, you realize. It wasn't a specific day, not some symbolic date. It was just a strange second in the middle of some random afternoon when you realize that the phase you always called temporary became your life. That, the just for now, has lasted for years. And then comes that question, sharp and uncomfortable. You try to ignore it, but it lingers. How many things have I put off? Genuinely believing there would be a later. Seriously, stop and think. Deep down, we know. We've always known. That later never comes. What does come is the emptiness, the weight of the things left undone, the words left unsaid, the versions of myself that never existed because they stayed forever boxed away inside the promise of someday. And right in the middle of that thought comes that one sentence, the one you can never unhear. No man ever steps in the same river twice, because when he steps in again, he's no longer the same, and neither is the river. Time doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't wait for anyone to figure life out. It just passes, and realizing that, it's strange. because everything around you looks the same. But somehow, all of a sudden, everything's different. And when you finally see it, you can't help but look back. Not to count the years, not to measure time, but to face something way more uncomfortable. Everything. That never happened. Not because it couldn't, not because it was impossible, but because, somehow, you let it slip by. Sometimes I catch myself thinking about this, about how many versions of me never actually existed, versions that only ever lived in the promise, in the someday I'll do it, in the when the time is right, in the when I'm ready. And it's strange, because they never really disappeared. They just stayed there, hovering, like ghosts, like the shadows of what could have been, but never was. Not because it wasn't possible, not because it couldn't happen, but because I was afraid, and I let it pass. And if you really look, maybe you'll notice the same thing. How many times did I picture myself different, doing something else, living a different way, becoming someone who, deep down, I know exists, but who never had the space, never had the air to breathe, never saw the light. And the weirdest part is that it wasn't some conscious choice. Nobody wakes up and says, "Today, I'm going to abandon a part of myself." Number. It's more subtle than that, more sophisticated, more disguised. You just keep pushing it back, for when things calm down, for when it feels safer, for when there's more time, for when it all makes sense. And if I'm being honest, I know that later never came, and maybe it never will. And what I've been calling real life might just be a rough draft, a poorly written sketch of the life I never had the courage to start. And right here, the question comes back, the same one, only now heavier. And seriously, stop and think. How many pieces of me were left behind without ever even existing? And that question, it doesn't come alone. It opens up space, a strange space, an uncomfortable space, a kind of emptiness that, truth is, was never really empty. It was just hidden. Because this is what's left when you realize everything you kept putting off, everything that never happened, everything that could have been but wasn't. And it's strange, because that space, that emptiness, it was always there. You were just too busy, too distracted, too numb to notice. But now, you can't unfeel it. It's there, clear, loud, almost tangible, and it doesn't show up as clarity or peace. It shows up messy, tight, confusing. It blends with that restlessness you can't name, with that pressure in your chest that comes out of nowhere, with that long sigh you didn't even notice you took. That's when it hit me. Nothing is guaranteed. There is no tomorrow. There's no magical someday, the one I kept promising myself for way too long. All there is this second, this tiny slice of time that, up until now, felt like just another moment. But it's not. Somehow, it became clear. It's either now or it's gone. Gone. Slipping away. Never coming back. And without even realizing it, it was already happening. No script, no guarantees, but it was happening. And the strangest part of it all is realizing this. Time moved on. The river kept flowing. And now, neither the river is the same, and neither am I.